Now, when you begin listening to this next part, I know what you might be thinking. Has this guy ever spoken into a mic before? And if you are thinking that, well, you'd be correct. My name is Matthew Osborn. Today marks the second episode in a series called The Young and Elite, which was a podcast I started back in 2016 to interview young and elite entrepreneurs under the age of 30 to figure out the things they were doing that really set them apart from their peers. These were people on Forbes 30 Under 30, Inc. 30 Under 30, very successful entrepreneurs in their 30s. Be sure to subscribe below if this sounds interesting to you and you want to be notified when future episodes are released. Today we're going to dive into episode 0 of the Young and Elite podcast, which was really the episode that started everything. Episode 0 was the launch of the podcast. I was super nervous. I had no idea what I was doing in front of a mic, and I was worried I wouldn't actually be able to get any guests to come on the show. Now, what I was not having difficulty with was knowing the purpose of the podcast. In the first intro, in spite of the obviously scripted lines, I knew 100% how I wanted this podcast to help the people that listen to it, and I really hope the audio to follow catches your attention and really inspires you to take action on your business. If this sounds interesting to you, I'll be posting one every single week at Tuesday nights at 6 p.m. EST, so be sure to check back for those episodes. Without further ado, I'm going to cue episode 0 of the Young and Elite podcast. Young and Elite, episode 0.
Welcome to the Young and Elite podcast, where your host, Matt Osborn, interviews the world's most elite entrepreneurs under the age of 30. Learn how to become self-employed, gain financial freedom, and live a life on your terms while you're still young. If you want to join the ranks of the Young and Elite, keep listening because it all starts now.
Welcome to episode 0 of the Young and Elite podcast. I'm the creator and host of the show, Matthew Osborn, and this first episode will be about 8 minutes long, and it will just be me and you. I want to share with you my vision for this podcast, what you can expect to get out of it, and a little bit about myself in the process. Young and elite entrepreneurs have always amazed and inspired me, probably because I'm young as well. And don't get me wrong, I admire a successful entrepreneur that's a little bit later on in life, but there's something awe-inspiring about elite entrepreneurs under the age of 30. People that have built enormous empires and accumulated enormous wealth extremely early on in life. My goal is to figure out how these young and elite entrepreneurs started their business from the ground up, so that you and I can replicate their success. There's a lot of great podcasters and other YouTubers that already interview entrepreneurs, so you might be asking, why am I creating another one? Well, the first reason comes from the fact that most other interviewers weren't asking the questions I wanted to hear. It's great to hear about how some successful entrepreneur invested their $100,000 to make $2 million, but I'm a little more curious about where they started. How they went from being your average 20-something-year-old like you and I on a shoestring budget to building the business they have today. The second reason I wanted to start this podcast was to interview young and elite entrepreneurs specifically. People who are at a similar stage in life with similar challenges and obstacles and see how they overcame. This podcast is made for you. If you're under 30, currently working for someone else but have aspirations of being self-employed. This podcast is also for you if you want to be an entrepreneur but you're not quite sure where to start. This podcast is for you if you've tried and failed in the past to start a successful business and are ready to learn how to do it the right way. This podcast is for you if you want to learn how to work for yourself, gain extraordinary financial freedom, and live life on your terms while you're still young. Due to the widespread adoption of the internet, it's no longer a requirement to go to college, work the same job for 30 plus years, and retire on just enough to get by. You don't need to wait until you're 65 to start living life. There are thousands of young people just like yourself that are building multi-million-dollar businesses every year before they even reach the age of 30. Setting their own schedule, doing the work they love, and making an enormous impact on the world in the process. I don't know about you, but that sounds like a life I want to live. My goal is to build up a community of like-minded young entrepreneurs that are tired of just thinking about their future goals and are ready and committed to taking action. To learn from the young and elite just like them that have already built the success they desire. You're probably wondering who I am and why you should be listening to me. Well, to be honest, you shouldn't. My goal of starting the Young and Elite is not for you to listen and learn from me, but to join me as we listen and learn from the Young and Elite guests on the show multiple times a week, sharing their story. I currently live in Denver, Colorado, and work full-time as a digital marketer. But early in the mornings and late at night, I'm constantly pursuing my goals of becoming a successful entrepreneur. I'm 21 years old and happily married to my beautiful wife, Joy, of 1 year now. I have a bachelor's degree in business administration from CCU, and I love being active and outdoors in all the beautiful areas surrounding Colorado. Whether it's snowboarding in the winter or mountain biking and climbing 14ers in the summer, I love being able to call Colorado my home. The entrepreneurial bug, as I like to call it, bit me very young. I remember starting my first eBay business when I was 10 years old, selling some game systems that I had lying around the house, and I've stuck with it ever since. Entrepreneurship has always been deeply rooted in me. The Young and Elite podcast will feature young and elite entrepreneurs under the age of 30 2 times a week. The episodes will air every Monday and Thursday, posting at 4 a.m. Eastern Standard Time each morning. I'm really excited to start interviewing and learning the secrets from elite entrepreneurs that will be joining us week in and week out, and I hope you are too. After each episode, head over to youngandelite.com to see a full show notes page with information on our guests, all the tips, tricks, and advice they shared, as well as any resources or products they recommended. Before I leave you, I want to share with you a famous quote written by an employee at Apple that's always inspired me, and I hope it inspires you as well. Here's to the crazy ones, the misfits, the rebels, the troublemakers, the round pegs and the square holes. The ones who see things differently. They're not fond of rules, and they have no respect for the status quo. You can quote them, disagree with them, glorify or vilify them. About the only thing you can't do is ignore them. Because they change things. They push the human race forward. And while some may see them as the crazy ones, we see genius. Because the people who are crazy enough to think they can change the world are the ones who do. Thank you guys for watching episode 0 of the Young and Elite podcast. More episodes will be dropping every Tuesday at 6 p.m. EST. If that sounds interesting to you, subscribe below to be notified when those are released. I will see you guys there.